Yo, what is going on YouTube? I am Germ here. You know I had to bring out the limited edition Bjergsen jersey today to talk a little bit about TSM. This has been a very weird couple of weeks for them, a very weird split, and all in all, a very weird year. Obviously, some unexpected things happened in the offseason with Bjergsen retiring, with Doublelift retiring. They probably were throwing this roster together really last minute, but they still ended up with a pretty decent roster, getting PoE in the mid lane. Huni is a big name in the top lane, having a young up-and-coming talent in Lost, one of the better academy players coming into the team. But man, this team has looked so inconsistent throughout this whole year. They have had very high highs where they've looked like a solid team actually, but they have a lot of problems that keep popping up, a lot of issues that they can't seem to figure out, and in a lot of areas they're really not progressing. They haven't really gotten much better since the beginning of the year, and overall this isn't a team I expect to do much damage in the summer playoffs. This isn't a team that I expect to do much damage at Worlds, so I think it is time to start thinking ahead to this next offseason and figuring out ways that TSM can get back to what TSM is supposed to be in 2022. That's what we're going to be talking about today. Definitely drop a like if you guys do enjoy this video. I'd appreciate it so much. Subscribe to stay up to date on all my latest content, and consider checking out my Patreon, patreon.com/IamGerm, if you want to support me and my content even further. With that being said, here we go, getting into today's video. So TSM, they did beat Immortals yesterday. You know, that's great. They're beating the teams they're supposed to. That's something that TSM has kind of done throughout the whole year. I don't know. They've lost to some bad teams. They've beaten some good teams, but it is good when you're beating the teams below you. You know, nothing super impressive there, but it's solid. We take those. They also lost to FlyQuest Academy, or the new FlyQuest roster the day before. So a weird weekend for TSM, but again, a team that's been very inconsistent. A team that definitely has issues. A team that is definitely exploitable. A lot of talent. Huni, Spica, Sword Art, Power of Evil. These guys are good, but for whatever reason, this team just hasn't fit together very well. They've definitely had some issues, and again, now that TSM has this TSM FTX money that everybody's talking about, what, 210 million, 10 years, they have huge money to throw around. TSM's definitely going to at least be considering some changes going into the next year. And honestly, the reason that this video popped up for me, first up, TSM is second place in the LCS right now. They are 25-13. They are a game back of 100 Thieves, 2 games clear of EG, C9, and TL. But remember, these are the summer split and spring split records put together, so it's not necessarily as indicative of like recent power as maybe, you know, normal summer split standings would be. So it is hard to judge too much off of these things. You know, EG has been pretty hot recently. 100 Thieves is having a good summer split. Cloud9 and TL are not. But we'll have to see how things end up going down in the playoffs. Who knows? It's going to be really crazy. I think it's pretty difficult to differentiate between the top 5 teams. I mean, Liquid and Cloud9 have really struggled, but they're talented. EG and 100 Thieves have really overperformed, but these are teams that were not there in the spring. We'll have to see. Who knows? Either way, I think the LCS has been not super scary this year. There hasn't been a real like top heavy dominant team, especially in the summer split. So I don't have super high expectations. I don't have you know, great feelings headed into Worlds or anything like that, unless a team makes a crazy turnaround, a crazy change before them. But again, what I did want to talk about and why this came up was the TSM subreddit. I actually had this post the other day talking about how Lost is currently the lowest damage per minute AD carry in the LCS. Now his damage per minute is 451. That ranks 11 out of 11. His damage percentage is 23.5, and that also ranks dead last. Now there's always caveats to statistics. Each team plays different styles. There might be different reasons why certain things are going on. Just because you have a low damage percentage, that could be because you have a really high damage jungler. And Spica, you know, is a big carry jungler. It could be because you have a really high damage per minute mid laner. And obviously Power of Evil is that big late game threat mid laner that's going to be putting out decent DPM numbers. So there is kind of all those things to take into account, but one thing is for sure that Lost has not been a huge carry. Lost has not been a big threat. And yes, meta, champions, patch, all that thing does determine that, but when you're comparing these stats, all the other AD carries are playing in these same situations, and you know, to me, Lost really has not been good enough this year. Yes, he was a huge up-and-coming talent. People were pretty excited about him. He was a very good player in Academy, and these things do take time. I think just because Lost is not good enough right now to be on a top LCS team, that doesn't mean he can't be one day, but I do think a team in TSM's situation, a team that is probably in win now mode. You know, I assume they're in win now mode. They signed Sword Art to a 2-year deal, so this was the first year of that deal. Next year is going to be the last year of Sword Art's deal. Now, maybe he resigns, maybe they resign him, maybe they want to move on from him, maybe they want to spend that huge amount of money again. Maybe they decided that huge amount of money wasn't worth it. You know, whatever. Either way, next year is a big year for TSM. They signed Sword Art and they went out and they spent all this money not to finish third place in the LCS, barely make Worlds, and get knocked out in groups, which is what's looking like it's going to happen. You know, if TSM last year that won the summer split went 0-6, what is this year's TSM going to do? It's going to be ugly. Like, yeah, they might win a game or two, but I'm not expecting anything great from them, just with especially how weak and exploitable so many of the facets of their game have been. Like, look at their laning. Take that on the world stage. You know, you really want to lane against a top LPL team like this. You really want to lane against top Korean teams like this. Like, I think it's going to be bad. So, anyway, that gets us to the offseason. Lost, well, yeah, he's been good. I really do think that if a team is in win now mode, that is not really the spot to be developing a young and up and coming talent. I had been critical of TSM a lot in the past for not developing players as much. You know, they let Johnson walk, they let Tactical walk, they let Treats walk, and then those guys went on to be successful other places. So I do commend TSM for at least giving this a shot, for giving this an opportunity. Yes, it kind of came about because the whole Doublelift situation happened last minute. Whatever, it was still cool, it was still interesting, and Lost has definitely shown some signs of being very, very good, and maybe they want to even send him back down to Academy, keep him there, see what happens for the future. Maybe they want to sell him off, make some money. You know, that is something that I think TSM has not done a very good job of in the past. But again, this TSM team right now, they have a nice core. Spica, Sword Art, Power of Evil, I think is a very, very good team. I think Huni is pretty replaceable in the top lane. If they went out and spent big money on a big import top lane or something like that, I think that'd be great. But I think obviously the most clear upgrade here is going to be Lost in the AD carry position. Now, this thread talks about it a little bit where people are talking about what they would want to see. Some people are saying Huan Feng, some people are saying Viper, some people are saying Doggo. Obviously, I think those would all be amazing pickups. I think those would be so crazy, and I really hope TSM could make something like that happen, but you know, who knows? I don't know how willing those players are to come to North America. I don't know what their asking price is going to be. I don't know what TSM is going to be willing to spend. I don't know. I think some other options that could be interesting if Team Liquid does decide to move on from Tactical, which is a real possibility in this coming offseason, maybe TSM Tactical. I think TSM King would be a real possibility and something that I would be very, very excited to see. If Cloud9 decides to stick with King and move on from Sven, I think, Sven coming back could also be a very, very real possibility. I definitely think that TSM needs to go out and make a splash. I do hope that Lost ends up in a decent situation. I think he has shown, again, I think he's shown some signs. I think he absolutely can develop into something in the future, but I don't think that TSM is probably the place that he should be developing just because they are a team, obviously, historically, that wants to get back to, their former greatness. They want to be a team that's competing for world titles. They want to be a team that's doing damage at Worlds, and they're spending like it. They're spending millions and millions of dollars to try and do so, and there was a chance that Lost was going to come in, fit into that well, and pop off, but, they just don't have the time. They don't really need to be waiting around for that unless they're going to go into like a full rebuild, unless they're really going to build for the future. But if they're trying to win now, at least in my opinion and the opinion of a lot of other people, maybe Huni is good enough to be your top laner in that situation, but I definitely don't think Lost is cutting it. Also, Upset, I know we talked about Upset coming to TSM a lot in the past. That would be absolutely insane. I think that is also very, very unlikely. So I don't know what exactly TSM is going to do, but I think with like each week that passes and all the games that we see, I think it's becoming more and more clear that Lost is not going to be the TSM AD carry for the future. So it's going to make this offseason fun. It's going to make this offseason crazy, but yeah, I am excited to see what happens there. But that's pretty much it for this video today, guys. Definitely drop a like if you did enjoy it. I'd appreciate it so much. Leave a comment down below. Who do you think should be the TSM AD carry in 2022? I would love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. Subscribe to stay up to date on all my latest content. Consider checking out my Patreon, patreon.com/IamJerm, if you want to support me, my content, and my channel even further. Hopefully catch you guys in the next one. But until then, peace!